Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back. This is Austin Linney with Construct Your Life podcast. So grateful to be here. I just want to ask you, are you ready to take your lifestyle to the next level? Because on our podcast, we don't focus on bank accounts. We're trying to build a lifestyle that's set up with mindset, taking action, and just making sure that you're living that best life possible. I got a special guest here today. He might make us think a little more than we wanted to. He's ex-CPA. We got Mike on the show. How's it going, Mike?
You know, just living the dream every day. I got stockpiled fridge of frozen foods ready to survive this corona hysteria and everything. But
the question is, how's your toilet paper level?
You know, I think I did an Excel spreadsheet to survive the storm. But no, I got just enough. You know, I'm not hoarding it like a lot of other people. But
guys, it's March 26th. We're in the middle of the coronavirus, and if you think he's joking about the spreadsheet, he's not. You'll see through the podcast. So why don't you tell them a little bit about your background, your bio, you know, your CPA, many hats you wear.
Yeah. So all starting back to high school, 2009 in Michigan, Metro Detroit. I took an accounting class. I was actually phenomenal at math. I did like the calc, tested out of college for the calc for my business degree, and was told when I was graduating high school what my major was. And I said accounting because I knew I wanted to do business. I love numbers. Perfect. And my math teachers were disappointed, calling me a sellout. Why are you doing this? They wanted me to PhD in math. And I was like, my parents were teachers. My mom, you either worked for Chrysler or were teachers. There's no middle ground. So I was the black sheep who did business. Going through, was excelling. I did well. I went to Michigan State University for my undergrad and master's. And in my fifth year, that was the year it just everything kind of clicked for me as like an adult or a mini adult of knowing what I wanted. I started a screen printing business. I was good at accounting. I knew what I needed. I passed all my certification exams. And a month before I'm graduating, I go to my favorite professor and I go to her and I go, am I going to like this public accounting or accounting realm? And she goes, absolutely not. And I thought she was just messing with me because we had a good rapport. But little did I know she was super serious about it and was very forthright of what happened. So I started my career with Ernst & Young, and I worked there for a couple of years of just doing financial statements audit. Your favorite auditor, just coming through, just learning all the financial statement processes of how did this entire department create one number on an income statement. So testing it, asking questions, interviewing a ton of people in the accounting department to make sure these are not like little companies. These are, you know, very large automotive suppliers, education companies. So I got to see all these processes. So when I stood my startup in screen printing, I realized I needed processes. And now I'm working at EY, I know the process and I could think better. But I loved EY and the opportunity it gave, but I was very entrepreneurial and wanted to do something more hands-on. So I worked with Dan Gilbert, the owner of Quicken Loans and the Cleveland Cavaliers, to work with his investments. I worked under the Rock Ventures arm of they call it the family of companies. And so essentially what would happen is these startups in Detroit didn't have enough money to have their own accounting department or were just getting off, whether it was day one or year three. They needed as much help hands on deck. So I would come in and be their accounting department, biz dev, whatever they needed to succeed. So I'd work on tech companies. I helped launch an esports organization called 100 Thieves. That was my favorite project. They're still kicking it today and dominating the esports world. I did a media production company called Woodward Original. So even though I had the accounting background, I'm learning all these different business sectors. But more importantly, I was seeing what Dan Gilbert was doing with real estate.
And this was in the teeth of the 08 recession, right?
No, it was a little bit after. So
a little bit after.
probably 13 and
But he was invested heavily in Detroit when this was going on, right?
Absolutely. So he literally has been known for resurrecting Detroit, because 08, 09, heavy automotive. But now there's LinkedIn there, there's Google there, there's Microsoft there. Do they have the hugest presence? No, but Dan has been laying the groundwork of all of these things to resurrect Detroit, to make it not just an automotive, but a tech hub as well. So seeing what he was doing on the real estate side just inspired me. I picked up the Purple book. I think every real estate investor does. And I was like, game changer. So in 2016, I bought my first single family property. 2017, I saved enough income to buy another one and was self-managing it. And in 2018, I think the paradigm shifted in all aspects of my life of what could I do to scale it? Real estate, I have to wait an entire year of my income to buy another property, and then I get another job. So how do I think of this scale? I'm working with these businesses. I'm like, I teach everyone how to scale and do things better, faster, and cheaper. How do I do that for myself? So I met with a mentor on Bigger Pockets, and he introduced me. I went to his conference, the Midwest Real Estate Summit, and changed my life, because I thought of, oh my God, why buy one when I could buy 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 at a time in apartments? And I was like, how is this even possible? And so the summit taught a lot of teachings on it, and that's where I just changed my paradigm when it came to investing. More importantly, in 2018, I had the realization if I work all the time and I eat at my desk, I don't work out, I don't exercise, that I was driving home from work and my chest was hurting at 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and I know Gary Vee has a famous video of "You're gonna die," and that was my "you're gonna die" moment. If I don't take care of myself now, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna be able to see my family in the future. So just 2018 was a weird year on paradigm. Now in 2019, I dedicated myself to multifamily. I joined the RAND Partners, which is the Jake Spenziano and Gino Barbaro, hosts of Wheelbarrow Profits, and joined their investing arm with RAND Partners, called the RAND Family. And from there, it's just been growing. I manage 1,650 units throughout the Southeast in Tennessee, Louisville, and Lexington. Mm-hmm. And I got rid of Fat Mike in 2018.
Well, let's just, because the beautiful people that will be listening to this and can't see how sleek and svelte you are right now. Where were you at? Where were you at when you were sitting in that car and you were holding your chest at 23 years old? How heavy were you?
The fattest I weighed myself, because we all know there's a point where you
stop.
255, and I'm 6 foot.
Okay.
And so now, gained a little bit of weight since then due to the frozen pizzas I got in my fridge for Corona. Probably like 190, and my slimmest was 185. So I'm around that 185, 190.
So almost 60 pounds. And how long a time?
17 months.
17 months. And when you're sitting in your car and that video, you're thinking, I'm 23. This is ridiculous that I'm overweight. And yes, I'm crushing it at work, but my work-life balance is not great. What was, you think, the defining moment, the switch? What were you telling yourself every day to start that routine that was so different than from what you were doing?
So I was leaving work the next day, and I saw the gym at our office, which is a huge plus. And I saw a basketball court, and it was empty. And I know every gym that I've ever seen, the basketball courts are flooded, 20, 30, 40 people, and you're like, I'm never going to play. And I was never a basketball player. I played baseball, but I just running up and down the court. I was like, all right, this is the moment. So the next morning, signed up for a gym membership and just started playing basketball. And every day, health-wise, I was like, don't be Fat Mike. I told myself every single day, what would Fat Mike eat this? And I read Atomic Habits, and it's just, that book helped me realize after the fact what I was doing was compartmentalizing that bad behavior with a different person. Mm-hmm. And everyone has that Fat Mike moment every once in a while.
Sure.
As long as you 9 out of 10 times you push them to the side and have healthy Mike. So healthy Mike, just keep going. So I just progressively got better at basketball. Then I added weightlifting to it. Then I worked on my diet I did no added sugar 1 month. I did Whole30. So everyone thinks it was just like one day, just I did this one thing, and it's just incrementally building up to it. So playing basketball, then weightlifting, then dieting. 17 months later, new Mike.
Yeah. And this is my new thing I'm on because I help this kid that works with me. He's brand new to real estate investing. A couple people I help. This is my new thing. When you're starting out, weight loss, real estate, and anything that you're doing, small, obtainable goals to create the momentum is the way to go. Because if, the quote, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. People don't, this is my new thing. People don't put enough stock in small wins and momentum when it comes to real estate investing and in life in general.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And Atomic Habits really hits on that of reward the behavior of doing it, not the result. And I think a lot of people I worked out 5 days this week and I didn't lose 10 pounds. Because, you look at everything in American culture, it's, all right, I see these weight loss shows. This person lost 20 pounds in a week. Yeah, but they're not going to show you the 6 hours a day there at the gym and just eating celery and everything else.
And they have a chef and a controlled trainer and all those things.
Yeah, like they're in isolation, blood, sweat, and tears to do all these things. And I think too, it's amazing people overpromise what they can do in a year, but not in 10 years.
Sure.
And it's just that continued momentum, building and building and building and building. That's the true success.
I read a book by Kyle Cease, and it's the greatest story I've ever heard. He said that he started a juice fast for 3 days, and he jumped on the scale and he gained weight, and he was like, "What the?" And he's like, and so he was so mad for a day, and then he goes, "Wait. My intention was to feel good. Do I feel good? Okay, great. Then we're good." And the same thing with a guy who runs marathons, and he lives in Costa Rica. He wrote today on his Instagram, "Today was the first day I ran without clocking the time and the miles, because for the first time in my life, I ran for myself and not to put it up on Instagram and get praise." And I thought that was a very poignant point.
Yeah. When we first met, you were I think it was, it was just stuff like that, like that parameters of feel good. Because I remember in your weight loss journey or in any journey, you want to put on a scoreboard and go, did I do better? And I stepped stepping on the scale, not as a matter of to keep myself accountable, but do I feel good? Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm like not working out as much because I'm working more because of the corona.
Sure.
But I know I'm going to get back to it. And I think literally after we had that talk, I had that aha moment of like, I remember journaling of like, man, I had a pizza for lunch, and man, I did this. And it's just like you pound yourself down.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, what do I do next? How do I avoid this? Do I pack my lunch? I throw a granola bar in the bag? What do I do? So it's just a, moment of time of doing those small wins is, like you said, feel good. Don't reward the behavior, not the result.
And so many times in life, I think as people, I think that we start a new behavior, or, I'm healthy now. And there's this internal fear that if you don't do it for 2 days, you're going to slide back to that guy. And what you have to understand as a person is that you've created a new persona, a new identity, and don't beat yourself up if you slip a day or two. It's a long game. And, me, I've been sober 1 year and 3 months, and, I don't really think about it anymore, but it's still an every week struggle. It's not like it goes away, but that's just not my identity anymore. And I think if people live in intention and kind of understand that they left that life behind them, and you're making smart choices, but don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. First off, I want to congratulate you on that because that's an amazing feat. But I think that's day by day at a time. Like, even if I think I was in the same boat of I even now I try to exercise every day. But I used to be like, all right, when I was training for the marathon, it was like if I didn't run or I didn't exercise, I would let it slide, and I still struggle with that today. So that's why I have to, even if it's like going for a 20-minute walk or a half-mile run or whatever, push-ups, whatever, I'm deeming that as exercise because it's the action. And so I try not to, the Jocko Willink of, you can give a break tomorrow, not today.
Sure.
You know, you're cuddled up in bed or like, I'm just going to hit snooze, relax, I'm going to miss my workout. And then you're going to be like, all right, now, you know, the intention of, well, I slept in, now I can eat pizza, now I can do this. And it just sets the rabbit hole of just disaster. So
100%. And guys, in the time we're in right now, I think Jocko's who you need to be listening to every day, all day.
No, yeah. He actually Sunday morning or Sunday night, he had like a video, and then he's like, plan out your whole week. What do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I just
dude,
plan my week. So
he's the only guy that scares me. Like he actually like scares me. And like when I was training the other day and I did the first long miles, bike, run, swim, I literally listened to him telling the story about how the friendly fire, and like he's just like in your head and it doesn't allow you to take off the focus.
Yeah, David Goggins, I think I listened to, he's the first Audible book I ever had, and following him and his story has been surreal. And now I don't listen to headphones when I run or exercise. Well, I should say run, because when I was training, because if the mic or the headset died, then you're out of your rhythm, and it just resonated with me. So when people are going, hey, when you're training, when you're running 20 miles, 4 hours long, what are you listening to? And I'm just like,
nothing.
Just the demons in my head of like,
yeah,
Fat Mike, I'm coming, like Fat Mike, squashing that. I just remembered like all the people who were like, even Fat Mike ran a half marathon, and that was my biggest motivator to run the marathon, was because Fat Mike ran a half marathon, Fit Mike ran a half marathon. What feat has Fat Mike hasn't done? It was the marathon.
Sure.
That's why I picked it, and I was just like, I'm all in on this.
And just so you know, guys, if you're not following, he lost 60 pounds and ran a marathon and knocked it out in a good time and did it for himself. And, you know, for me, the other day, I did the distance of the half Ironman, and I felt like, you know, my right leg stopped working like 9 miles into the 13-mile run. And I was like, I'm finishing no matter what. And like, you know, you just think about how many bad versions of yourself you leave out on that pavement, right?
Oh, yeah. It's
you know what I'm talking about.
Out.
Yeah.
The demons come out mile 9, mile 10. Even in my marathon, I think, so I had reverse split. So I ran slow and incrementally got faster. And I'm not fast. I did it in 4 hours and 30 minutes. But I literally, every mile got at the half mile or half marathon mark, I was furious. I go, I'm too slow. I saw where I started. I know it's not great. Mile 22, I was getting tired. And I was just like, I am sick of running. And so I took off. I think my last mile in the marathon was 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I was blowing by people. And everyone's like, oh my. And they're like, oh, was you just listening to a playlist? I go, no, I was mad. How slow
you just want to be done.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm done running. I am done,
dude. This half Ironman I'm doing, the full one, excuse me, in November. You're just like 8 hours on the bike. What the? I don't want 8 hours. Like people like sleep that long. And like my wife's like, all right, here's the deal. I'm gonna see you off in the morning. I'm gonna go to the casinos. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna have dinner, get some sleep, and then I'll meet you. And you're just like, it's so long. But there is something, I find it with our personalities, because me and you are both pretty driven and A types. I find there's something comforting in that training that keeps you focused on the path with work and just life in general when you're focused on training. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the mountain, climbing the mountain. You know, everyone's at the base level. And every time it gets a little bit harder, there's less and less and less people. And to be honest, it's not. To be honest, we got to be crazy for what we do. People said you're crazy for running the marathon. People said you're crazy for doing the half. People say you're doing the full. Like I just think of all those people when I'm running it. I'm like, I told you so. I told you so.
Yeah.
Even when I was fat, like it's just. those demons will come back, and you just think of all the people who told you can't, and you're like, I got it. So I mean, to be honest, it's got to be part crazy to be
100%. My wife thinks I'm nuts. She's like, you have problems. I'm like, I know. But the thing the thing that I tell myself all the time, and it's something that's stuck with me, is we don't negotiate our goals. And that's what I say to myself over and over again. And if I made a commitment, I'm going to finish it. And so, I think for me, because I want to make sure that guests get the most value, and I'm in real estate, and I'm a little selfish because I want to learn more and more about multifamilies. So Mike is what you would classify as a top, level underwriter on deals. He knows the inner workings of every deal better than anybody I've ever met. And just so you know, guys, if you're not familiar with, and I'll tell them to their face, I actually told Gino this. Gino and Jake was the first podcast I listened to on Bigger Pockets ever. And I was in the restaurant business. So they actually were the reason I decided to get out of the restaurant business, not own a restaurant, was because of Gino. And he goes, good. He told me in Nashville, good, I saved you millions of dollars. And but guys, if you're looking to get into real estate, and you're looking in real estate in general, this group of people, because I've been to their events, there's no better group of people as far as teaching, culture. They're just amazing people. So why don't you kind of walk us through the Jake and Gino family, what you do for them, and kind of walk us through deals, what you're doing on a daily basis for real estate investors.
Yeah, so what we do is, we got the Rand family of companies. So we got the Jake and Gino, which is more of the education for people who want to be active investors. The Rand Partners piece, we're helping people invest passively. So we're just giving opportunities, looking at multifamily assets in the southeast of 100 or more. So we're looking on the investment arm. We have a Rand Capital, which is our mortgage brokerage for the active investors who are looking for financing for their deals. And that's pretty much the family of companies. My inner workings on a day-to-day basis, I'm talking to potential investors who are interested in investing. I'm talking to brokers to find the next opportunity to invest. Once they give me an offering memorandum over email, I'm underwriting it, looking it over with Jake. Month end, and this time of year, we're looking at quarter one distributions and reviewing the finances. Because I think with my background being a CPA, the numbers tell a story that not many people see. And so, working through budget comparisons, working with our accounting team to make sure the numbers are more importantly accurate, but does the story match what our property managers are saying? So we're just all hands on deck and intertwined. That's why we're like the family of companies, because we realize a Jake and Gino student might want to invest actively, or they need financing. You name it, we're here to offer as much service, whether you're day one and you've identified multifamily, or you're working in a restaurant and you're like, I want my money to go to work for me, so I want to invest passively on the deal. So from investor calls to underwriting, calling brokers, to reviewing financials, a little bit of everything.
So let's get a little granular on investing wise, and I don't think we got enough time to go into 150 unit, 200 unit, but let's stay in a tangible first investment. Let's say a 6 to 24 unit property. Mm-hmm. Let's start in that range. I think that's the easiest to dig into. And let's talk about, from an investor point of view, if you're newer or looking to make the transition from single family to multifamily, that's probably where you're going to look at. What are you looking for in a deal, from city-wise, from deal-wise, from rent flows? What are the triggers that you're looking for?
So we call it the Rand funnel of looking at the market. So does our market have employment growth? Does it have job diversity, whether it be employers or sectors? So like Detroit 0809, heavy automotive, free fall. So we're just looking for diversity, population growth, educators in the area, whether it be a top tier university or anything else. We look at the school system. So we're looking at this top market. Sub-market, we're looking at, okay, we know the market. Now let's look at the sub-market. What is the median income for that, median household income for that particular tract? And we have it down to a particular number that we look for, so that we can be affordable rents. We're trying to be the Chick-fil-A of workforce apartments. So we're just trying to provide as much value. So we need to review the median income, but we also look at the local employers. So the market may have a job sector, but what is that sub-market job sector? Is there accounting firms? Is it local restaurants? Is it tourism? We want to really understand what's in that pocket. And then from there, we're looking at properties. Is it a 1960s or older asset that might have plumbing issues, potential foundation issues, or is it a newer build? Because each one have their own risks. You just got to really look for it at the time, or a potential to value add. So what do you need to do to update the property to get its highest rents? And lastly, the financials. That's where your rent growth comes in. So we're looking to qualify for, we're looking to see what's the occupancy, what rent is coming in, what is that comparative to the market rents, and what are our competitors doing at that market rent. So if a person across the street has the same amount of units, they might have backsplash, new appliances, a better pool. So how can we juice up our rents to get to what they're getting by doing the same things? And for the underwriting piece, I must say, always call your tax assessor because the taxes will always change. So whether you're actively looking at a deal or passively, call the tax assessor. And I know this is overwhelming, but multifamily is a team sport, whether it's a management company. So get that dream team behind you to attack deals going forward, because you cannot do it all in this space.
1,000%. And guys, you got to understand, and I'm talking to all the listeners out there, there is no moment in time, there is no year that we will get to where this guy, Austin Linney, will be looking over a multifamily amortization spreadsheet. It's not my bag. It's not my bag. But I knew that about myself, so I don't try to lie about it. I know enough to be dangerous, but what I do have is I have people on a daily basis coming to me with 143, 296 units, 35, 56. Why? Because I position myself as a guy that can close deals, right? And what Mike is saying is, if that doesn't fit with your personality, you team up with a guy, a wholesaler, a deal guy, a syndicator, and let that Mike's job do the work. But more importantly, the thing I'm harping on, and I've been doing with all the interviews this week, and this is very important in the multifamily space, especially where we are right now today. I think what happened with people is they got too wrapped up into goals on certain unit numbers instead of assets that produce a certain income. And they over leverage because it feels sexy to say, I have 3,000 units. And what I knew about your company is y'all make sure that you buy right. And it's not a number per se. It's a number financially, cash flow wise, that breathes life into the business. Wouldn't you agree?
1,000%. I think there's so many podcasts out there that say, all right, you need to do 100 plus units because it's the scale, target 15 IRR. And, and I think I get scared too in the multifamily space is that people are marketing themselves as the capital raisers. And that's a huge red flag with the SEC and everything going on, because you need a specific license. So there's just a lot of people marketing themselves, and it's just scary because the SEC, you get one investor calls the SEC and says, oh, I didn't really know this person and have a pre-existing relationship, and he sold me on a deal. And you just see a lot of stuff on, like you said, the Instagrams. I'm looking at this deal, and it's just massive. And it's just a scary time to be in because it's just the Wild West right now when it's marketing. So I'm not saying don't be the capital raiser, but I wouldn't be pushing out that I have X amount of dollars and I'm willing to throw it in on a deal, or I have these group of investors. I would just be very methodical and read the SEC 506B as in boy and 506C as in cat to make sure you protect yourself, or even talk to a syndication lawyer, because when push comes to shove, the SEC, you can go to jail, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And it's not a matter of if you close on the deal. It's a matter of down the line, any investor can report you to the SEC, and they'll come knocking on your door going, you did this wrong. You did this illegally. And you can get in a lot of trouble.
And you're done, guys. You're done. And so, I talked to Jennifer. I'm fascinated by what y'all are creating, and because it's more of a long game strategy. You're creating a army of goodwill out in the community that I think is going to come back, if it already hasn't, 20-fold to y'all. But talk us through the decision, right, to leave a good job, a good company, a career that over time you could have made a ton of money in, to jump off the end as soon as you got the phone call, to come on down to Knoxville. But also, you left your girlfriend back there to finish her job too. So, you're making sacrifices, and this is what I talk about all the time, guys, sacrificing to get where you want to go. What's your take on all that stuff? And, woulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, I could have stayed with that job and be making, 120,000, right? Whatever it is. And that's safe.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I worked. So another thing is no one saw me working from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. every single day, working on trying to do the same things Jake and Gina were doing. So I was so motivated just to do this that even my girlfriend, who's still in Chicago, understood how badly I wanted this and this opportunity. So it's more importantly, surrounding yourself with the right people. When I left Michigan to go to Chicago, people were like, "You'll be back in 6 months." I was like one of the few friends to leave. And I was Mr. Social Butterfly and just trying to go through it. Like, I talked to all my friends. Like, it's like high school we never graduated because we hung out all the time. But then when I was leaving, they're like, "You'll be back in 6 months, no questions asked." And so once I surrounded myself with my mentor in Chicago, John Kasman, Susie, my girlfriend, was just so super supportive of it. She knew how much this meant, and so she understood what this meant for us. And it just, for me, it's not a matter of being safe, it's about being happy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get wrapped up in, if I make X amount, I'm happy. If I make this, if I drive that, which is great. I mean, I'll take a 2009 Ford Fusion every day of the week to drive, get me to A to B. But it's doing what I love every day, because I've been in those days where I didn't love what I did, and it was work.
Yeah.
I've been calling all of our investors, just getting to know them and giving them clarity on what's going on with the properties. And I've been loving every minute of it. And even, I'll work 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And I tell myself I'm working less because I'm doing what I love. I don't have to work 14 hours and then another 6. I'm like just doing what I love every day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. Getting to my job is to talk to cool people like Austin and the listeners every single day. So like that work, to me, it's not. So that's why when people say the work-life balance, that just means you're not doing what you love.
Amen. And I think now more than ever, I talked to a high performance coach yesterday. Now more than ever is the opportunity in creating the space allowed to pursue those avenues that maybe you had put off for so long, and to understand that moving out the other side of this, the world will be different, and it just is the thing. And so this is the opportunity to seize those times to really, I think Tony Robbins talks about how he doesn't see life and work as separate. It's just one and the same. And, we were in Costa Rica in August, me and my wife, and we were looking at property. And like, I'm not joking, like we were looking at property, to buy a hotel. And somebody text me and they're like, "Hey bro, enjoy your vacation." And I was like, "Hey bro, shut up." I was like, "This is what I love doing. Like, we were so happy right now." Like, yeah. He's like, I'm like, I don't like, and so like, I never think that, like, "Hey, Austin, go sit on the beach for like 4 days." I'd be like, "Oh God, kill me now." Like, because I truly enjoy the hunt, right? For the next Airbnb property, for the next wholesale, for the next multifamily. Myself, I have, 3 single families. I'm looking to get into the multifamily. We put an offer in on 143 units the other day, and so on and so on. So, talk about the mentality that I just had a podcast with Evan yesterday, and, spending that weekend with him and being around all your multifamily investors changed the way I think about investing. Talk about the mindset mentality to take down 140, 200, 300 unit property when I'm going to let you know a little secret. You probably don't have $18 million sitting in your bank.
I definitely don't, or else I would be in Costa Rica buying all those houses, just kicking back on the beach.
Exactly. So what is the mental shift to go from single family to put an offer in on something like that? The guy that we toured that day, they only had 300 units and they closed on 1,289 units, right? So like, talk about what you think needs to take place to flip the switch like that.
Yeah, it's all how can I. So Jake and Gino started with a 23 unit, and they did everything. And then they expanded, and now we were putting in an offer on a 300 plus unit outside of Nashville that was in the 40 to $50 million range. So it takes time, and by no means do I think you need to first at bat go all in on a deal. I personally just dream big, but scale small, start small, and just build up to it. It takes time. I mean, and like I said, in 2013, Jake and Gino started, and they started with, it took them a year and a half before that to get the deal. So 0 to 1 is much harder, and they started with 23. 2020, we're at 1,600 plus units and over 100 million assets under management.
Mm-hmm.
Our BHAG, big hairy audacious goal, is 10,000 units. Mm-hmm. So it just incrementally scaled. So and it's just how can I do this? For me, when I was starting, how can I convince? The mindset was convince an investor to invest with me. And it was a terrible mindset. It's how do I add value to an investor? How do I add value to the property? How do I do it? I think that's the biggest thing I took away from Kiyosaki's book is how can I, not I can't. Because once you say I can't, then you can't do a deal. You just shut it off. And that's why I think a lot of people are big on in 10 minutes, check out a deal and that's it. And then I'm like, no, you got to underwrite the whole thing, A to Z, the whole process, because then your brain going, what happens if I got this interest rate or the rents were this or this or this? And then you get creative with these deals and understand it. So it's how can I add value? How can I better myself? How can I educate myself more, whether it's finding deals, underwriting, talking to investors? It's how can I add value in each of those aspects?
Amen. And I think when you'd be surprised when you create a creative mindset around deals, how those more deals flow to you. And, a big wholesaler, really good friend of mine out of Arizona is a flipper and wholesaler, broker. He says that he walks into every meeting he has with a client, a seller, anything as an investor first, because that is the most amount of options on the table to think creatively wise. That's not a word. And then, but then he goes switching to an agent if that's the option available. And I thought that was a very poignant point to allow yourself the most option, and see, these are the things that I think somebody mentioned the other day, multifamily space moving forwards where we are in the economy. I think, owner financing is going to be a huge ticket in the next, year to 5 years. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think when you get creative, you'll never know, that possibilities are endless instead of, I have to buy it through a broker or this. You'll never know. All the deals that don't come to market are now your opportunity. And you see so many, that's why on Bigger Pockets, you just see all these deals are like, how did you get this deal 0% down or 0 down? You ask the seller. That's all they do is you just ask.
Yeah.
Okay. You just need, I want X, I'll give you Y, and then here are the keys on Z. So
and I think there's a great book called Fierce Conversations. And I think if you have those fierce conversations and you're open to maybe putting a question on the table that you think they're going to shoot down, don't pretend to play the role of you think you know what the investor needs. You have to see the friction and then pull it apart. What is the saying that Jake uses all the time about the grass? And what is it?
If it doesn't cash flow, we'll let the grass grow.
and understand that what we're talking about in this podcast, one of the things I really want to drill home, and Mike is showing that right now, you have to have an abundant mentality. You can't live in scarcity. And if the deal doesn't work, then go, you know what, it wasn't meant to be. And in 6 months, I mean, can you just shed light on that? I would imagine that a couple times you've walked away from a deal and then it's came back to you later on, right?
All the deals always come back. So that's why as an investor, you never delete it from your inbox, because it always circles back. I think one deal in Lexington, I've seen it get posted 4 different times, and it's a deal we just, based on the location on that funnel, will never touch. But you always have those criteria in which you don't touch. And I think, to piggyback off your fierce conversations, Chris Voss wrote a book, Never Split the Difference, and Jake and Gino actually had him on our coaches huddle. And the biggest thing when you're asking for something is just do an accusation audit of, Austin, look, I know you would think I'm going to be a greedy pig for trying to take this house from you with no cash down. You just think, oh, this guy's in it for the money, or I'm going to walk away. And you just, like, every negative thing that person could think of, because it lowers their guard down and keeps their autonomy of, like, all right, now that I've just laid it all out there, now what? And it just, how can we do this deal? And it was just like a really surreal moment of, like, if you lay out all the negative things that could be said, it just opens the opportunity to let that person listen and just hear. So Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And he's done a couple podcasts with Jake and Gino, so I'd highly recommend listening to those, because for me, reading it helped, but listening to Chris Voss speak was just amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I have 20 years behind the bar and negotiating with drunks. That is really, I never split the difference on a nightly basis with the drunks. So, the thing is you'd be surprised, right? And I'll just, quick story, because it's my personal reference. I bought my second house across the street from me. It took me 9 months to get the deal. When I went to him the first time, he said, no, I'm not ready. I'm having family issues. I said, listen, I'm here whenever you're ready. And I just walked away from it. And sure enough, he called 8 months later, and I bought the house for $50,000. So, and he was happy and we were happy, and we just sold it. We made some good money off of it. But this is what I keep harping back to, especially in my Airbnb world. Like, don't put your standards on what you think the deal should be, because you don't know the friction of that owner. Maybe he's going through a divorce and he doesn't want his wife to get the house, the property, and then he's just ready to offsell. And I think moving forward, you're going to see that a lot, by people liquidating assets to get more cash heavy, to go buy more deals. And then, and also something that's very interesting, the guy that we put the offer in on the 143 unit, I thought this was very interesting. He owned 13 complexes. Some were like 40, 60 million dollars. This guy's been doing it a minute. He's got tons of money. He was more worried about the team that was buying it than he was about the price he was going to get. So, he wanted to know that you could close. He wanted to vet you. He wanted to know that you have property management. So I've noticed that in the multifamily space, it's way more about the team and what you're bringing to the table than it is about the price. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's not the single family space where you come in and submit an offer and get that pre-approvement letter, and you're like, you need the money behind you. You need to flex the credibility. You need the management team. Because if it's just me and Austin, like, hey, we're just ragtag, kicking tires, and we're like, hey, we're going to close this deal. They're like, yeah, but who are you? And we're like, no, we're friends, And they're like, that's great, but I need to know you're going to close. Mm-hmm. That credibility piece is always something you have to be selling of. Can this person close? Are they credible? Because the last thing, like, they've owned this property, have done all this uplifting, and the last thing they want to do is just see it free fall. Obviously, they want it, because then it looks bad on the seller if they go back to market because you weren't as credible. So in the multifamily space, it's all about the credibility to close and to continue your actions, because then too, all those you're playing with investor money, and that's a huge limiting belief people have of, like, I don't want to lose people's money, but it's an opportunity. But investors are going to let you know whether they trust you or not when it comes to, I got a deal, hand me the money to let's go in on it. They'll tell you no, whether it's your underwriting's off, and these are very sophisticated people that you're working with. They're no dummies. This isn't a quick Ponzi scheme. They'll know and check the numbers, and that's why it's important to know your numbers, know the market, and understand the story of a deal every single time. And if you don't, ask the sponsor, and it's how they answer it. If they're defensive or, you don't trust me, you're right, I don't trust you, because you're not explaining it how I would thought you would.
And I'm going to share this last piece of advice. And if you're new, this is where I'm harping on, the new investor. I've had a buddy in the last 4 months who's clipped $300K in 2 wholesale fees off a 22 unit and a 30 unit, right? And that's great. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're new to the game and you have access to sellers, or you somehow get access to multifamilies, you can forego some of your pay on a wholesale deal, maybe all of it, and partner up with an experienced company to learn a multifamily deal from the inside out. And I think so many people are worried about what money they're going to get for a deal. You can't put a price tag on experience actually being in the deal. Sometimes you have to get out of the books.
Yep. And I want to disclaimer this is that Austin and I are not lawyers. Please contact your legal services in whatever market you're in, because every state's different. But I totally agree with Austin's point of view. If you find the deal, don't think of it just cash coming in. Think of it equity. I get equity on a potentially cash flowing asset for however long. So,
and in the relationship you've also established, and that's what people need to understand. When you're getting started, it's adding value. I don't have 1,600 units, but how can I add value to Jake and Gino? Maybe I find that 100 unit, and then they're like, "Whoa, dude! Like, yeah, come on, like, get in with us. We're going to show you how to management. We're going to show you how to do all that." So, thank you so much for being here. Might take a minute. All the ways that they can get a hold of you, they can check out your content, your community. I know you have a podcast, training, so many things.
Yeah. So email MikeT@randcre.com. We recently changed our email so that I don't have to spell out my entire name. So MikeT@randcre.com. RandCRE is our handles for Instagram, LinkedIn, and Rand Commercial Real Estate for Facebook. More importantly, I think the best way to get in our content, make sure you see deal announcements or newsletters, randpartners.com. We have the investor login in the top right corner, and then you can schedule a call with me, and we'll chat about your investing goals, your experience, and what you're looking for, and we'll go through the whole thing together and just start the conversation. So I'll even throw out the phone number, 586-668-0248. Call, text, email. I'm in Eastern time zone, but I don't go to bed really, so it's all good.
And we'll put all that in the show notes. That's how I tell my producer, yeah, go to work. But what I want to tell you guys is if you get a chance, find out where they're having an event, Atlanta, on the West Coast, whatever, go to this event. Trust me, there'll be students in there with you that started with nothing and now have 200, 100 units, 300 units. And so those are tangible people that you can gravitate towards to walk you through scaling up your investing business. I just want to thank y'all so much for listening, guys. If you liked what you hear, rate us and review us and share to your friends. And y'all have a great day. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Austin. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.